And welcome to another episode of the Michigan Sports Truth Podcast on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube Live. We're not doing Twitter Spaces anymore because it's been having technical difficulties, but we're going to do StreamYard instead. I'm Taylor Phillips along with Ed Smith. How are we doing tonight, Ed?
Besides dealing with the irritation of technical issues, pretty fine.
Yeah. All right. So we got Lions, Tigers, Michigan football to talk about. A little shocking news about tight end Erick All and Amani. We'll throw in a little Amani Bates in there as well. But the Detroit Lions, they're 6-7. They beat the Minnesota Vikings 34-23. The Lions were favorites going into the game, obviously, while the Vikings entered the game 10-2. The Lions played pretty good football. Jameson Williams, his first NFL touchdown reception to open the scoring. Penei Sewell with his first down catch on 3rd and 7 to all but seal, and then the Michael Badgley 48-yard field goal. He missed his first attempt, but he rebounded nicely. 464 total yards against the Vikings defense. Jared Goff, still good nonetheless, 330 of those total yards passing. And then Aiden Hutchinson on defense doing his thing, getting a sack along with Kirby Joseph. So another hard-fought win. Lions are 5-6, 5-1 since they fired defensive backs coach Aubrey Pleasant. So, Ed, what are your thoughts?
Well, in terms of everything, what I needed to see from this game is what could the Lions do from the get-go to set the tone for momentum that will last throughout the entire game. Because yes, even though they were the favorites going into this game, you wondered where they going to start the game off. And as you saw, even though they had the little 3-and-out, the defense stepped up for them. Then you saw how they were able to set the tone. Jameson Williams, who for some reason, again, you could say it was probably busted coverage, but I do think the fact that his speed had something to do with him getting open to begin with, that lets that big opening strike of a touchdown. And because of that alone right there, that set the tone because the defense for the Vikings, they were thinking about over the top stuff down deep the rest of the week, for the rest of that day. And again, there were times where you still got through, like for example, with the DJ Chark touchdown that came right after with the big punt return by Khalif Raymond, and I'll get to the rest of the special teams unit in a second. But just that threat of the deep ball, which is saying something considering the fact that Jared Goff is starting quarterback, but because of that looming threat was possible, that was able to open the door and open the lanes for other receivers to get some. I already mentioned Khalif Raymond. Josh Reynolds is another name. We already know what Amon-Ra St. Brown can do. He had another great game himself. 90-plus yards reception, if not over 100 yards again, with a touchdown or two to go to his mark for the season, proving himself to be more than such a capable weapon in all facets of the game. Just a great value of a pick that Brad Holmes had found in that 4th round last year. So there was that, what the offense was going to do, and between of what that opening strike touchdown setting the tone, that able to let them spread the ball out to their other weapons on the offense and eventually get the ball going on the ground effectively. I'm sure Minnesota was scouting out how the Lions did with rushing the ball with touchdowns near the goal line. So what does Ben Johnson do? He calls a fake toss sweep pass to DeAndre Swift, sets it for a passing touchdown. I think that was either Chark or Reynolds again on that one. So again, just great creative play calling and timely coaching. You're seeing and noticing the trend with this, and it's been the case now for several weeks with this run that the Lions have been on for now. Timely, smart, and effective coaching decisions, whether it be from Ben Johnson, whether it be from Aaron Glenn, whether it be the special teams, which again, you can't say enough about the special teams with what I saw with Khalif Raymond did, with Badgley making the kicks that he's been making as of late, gaining his confidence. And we got to talk about that 4th and 7, which was a huge momentum shift. CJ Moore with the fake punk run, even though the team was already up 7, the ball was on pretty much deep in their territory. But because really Minnesota did not expect that at all, that was the right time to go for that call because, again, Dan Campbell's been known to be on the aggressive side, to say the least, but he's been more smart and more effective of when to show that aggressiveness. and this was the right time to catch Minnesota off guard, and they took advantage of it. So again, very impressed by how the team, in terms of all facets of the game, offense, defense, special teams, and yes, especially that defense, because the one thing that hurt him big time, one of many things that hurt them throughout the starting first stretch of this season, especially in their first matchup against the Vikings, was the rushing defense. Dalvin Cook ate them up in Minnesota, as he's done for most of his career whenever he's played the Lions. He's averaged over 120 yards rushing every time he's faced them. This game, 23 yards total. So once you shut down their important aspect of how they run on offense, you make them one-dimensional. Yes, Justin Jefferson got his. He's one of the best receivers of the game in the game. Of course, he's going to get his. It also helps that Jeff Okudah was dealing with an illness. He was sick. He played some of the first half, did not play most, if any, of the second half at all. So having one of your best corners not out there is certainly going to play a role in Justin Jefferson getting the production that he had. But still, you notice that they were trying to focus on you know what? If Jefferson's going to get his, he'll get his. But we're not going to let anyone else beat us. Yeah, Adam Thielen got the touchdown, but what was that? He was effectively useless after that. Outside of that, so same thing. Like I mentioned with Dalvin Cook being shut down, he was ineffective as well. Great game plan, great adjustment by the defense, and also timely plays, timely moments, situations, whether it be getting a sack. They were able to get at Cousins, sacked him 4 times in that game. Aiden Hutchinson coming up big with another solid game of his own, adding to his case for potential defensive rookie of the year, which is going to be very interesting to see when we see how he performs this upcoming Sunday compared to how Sauce Gardner does. Because Gardner for the Jets, he is considered one of, if not the front runner for that award. Again, we'll see what Aiden Hutchinson has to say about that. But I just figured it would be interesting to point that out as we head to that game. But the rest of the defense as well, Isaiah Boggs with the fumble near the goal line, which is a huge momentum shift. Kirby Joseph with the recovery. Again, another shining diamond in the rough that Brad Holmes was able to find in that 3rd or 4th round from this year's draft. So can't say enough of the job that whether it be our GM is doing and also what the coaches are doing. But at the end of the day, it comes down to the players got to execute. And what you saw the Lions did on all 3 phases of the game was as complete a team win as you're going to see, and that's just been the theme of how they've gone about these past 6 games. Even with the loss on Thanksgiving against Buffalo, it took again everything it could have out of the Bills just to win that game and beat you guys. So I would still say you should be considered yourself proud of that effort, and you have not let that deter you. And now you're in a position to where again you control your own destiny here when it comes to the playoff chase. And who would have thought we'd be saying that at this point, considering that this team started 1-6? It's quite amazing, if you ask me.
Yeah, that 1-6 record was because Aubrey Pleasant was their defensive backs coach, but since they got rid of him, they've been 5-1, almost undefeated for God's sake.
And also Dan Campbell making better coaching decisions, like for example, taking the points more as opposed to trying to go for it on 4th down every single time. Knowing when to punt and trust your defense and trusting your punter, Jack Fox, who's been pretty damn consistent for you this year. Flipping the field position, setting things up more easier for your defense to do work and get the ball back for your offense, that type of thing. We saw, again, when it was timely and necessary for him to be aggressive, to be unconventional, to be unorthodox. We saw that with the fake punt run, and of course we saw it at the end of the game with the fact that they ran a play for Penei Sewell. You got this big-ass, 330-pound freak of a man running in motion, because remember, they ran that play design earlier in the game with Sewell running in motion, like the little, like Trent Williams, like how they do in San Francisco, how they do it with Trent Williams. They're expecting run. They don't. Instead, it's a straight-up pass. It's designed for Sewell, and the Vikings had no idea what the hell was going to come or what was going on until it was too late. Sewell, thankfully, he made the catch, found the dime distance, got the first down, stayed in bounds. It was just perfect execution, and that was what sealed the game for them. So, again, outstanding job of what this team from top to bottom, coaching staff, 2 players, what they've done ever that 1-6 start, not giving up on themselves, staying the course, um, finding a way to turn things around. And now again, they have a spot, they have a chance to where if they pull things off and do it the right way, they could find themselves going to the playoffs.
Yep. So the Lions, last I checked, Lions and Jets, Sunday at 1 on CBS. Both in terms of betting odds, the Lions and Jets. There's no favorite that I'm reading here as of right now. The spread is 0 right now. 0, a big flat
Yeah,
0.
it's a pick 'em. It's basically a pick 'em.
Yeah, it's a pick 'em, all right. So at least the total's 44.5. So up for the over under. But what do you think of the game? What upcoming?
Well, this game upcoming, I expect this to be the Lions' toughest remaining test on the schedule. That's how I see and view this as. When you consider the other teams that they have faced remaining after this, yes, I understand that, including this one as well. Your remaining 4 games are on the road. I get that, but considering who's in front of you, this Jets team, who, frankly, let's be honest, may not be entirely sure of what they're going to be rolling with their quarterback. Yes, Robert Saleh says that Mike White is still going to give it a go, but he's dinged up, he's hurt, and I guess they must feel that they have a better chance rolling up a Mike White who is clearly not going to be 100% on Sunday, as opposed to Joe Flacco. That alone should tell you of how confident they feel in their quarterback and their starting quarterback compared to what their backup is. So that's one point. Secondly, I do like the fact that you know it's going to be come down. It's going to come down because really these teams are very similar when you think about it. Hard nose. They want to be physical with you. More of a defensive focus, I would say, with the Jets than what we saw with the Lions. They're more offensive focused, from what I could tell. But it's gonna be a clash of styles. It's gonna see if it's just the Jets secondary, which besides Sauce Gardner, they have DJ Reed as well. Can they contain the weapons that the Lions have, whether it be Amon-Ra St. Brown, whether it be Jameson Williams, whether it be DeAndre Swift out of the background, out of the backfield, could it be a chance where you see more of what we saw this past week? DJ Chark, Khalif Raymond, Josh Reynolds, those unsung heroes stepping up and becoming a factor to where an unsung hero that you didn't see coming. So that's going to be expected to see. Can this offensive line continue their momentum and getting Jared Goff the protection that he needs? Because that Jets defensive front pressure is coming. Because like I said, Robert Saleh is proving his worth as what we have seen so far during his tenure as Jets coach. Defense is in the DNA of him as a coach and as that team. So I expect to see this to be a low-scoring affair. That's why you see the over/under is set at 44.5. That's why this game is as close to a pick-em as you can get. They're expecting a physical defensive battle between two teams fighting for a playoff spot. And frankly, it's a toss-up. I can see this game going either way. I think in terms of what the intangibles, I should say, who can make that mistake, who cannot make that mistake, who can make that untimely decision. I'll say the Lions will have a chance. If there is a chance for the Lions to lose a game in this stretch compared to for the rest of their schedule, I would rather you lose this one. You can't lose against Carolina because
5-8.
because you're fine. Yeah, but also they're trying to chase you for that last playoff spot. Same thing with the Packers, believe it or not. So I could see a scenario to where the Lions may lose this game, but it won't kill their chances yet. They just have to win out the rest of their games, the remaining games, the entire rest of the way. So while I do think the Lions have what it takes to win this game, I'm going to say that the Jets are going to do just enough to squeak this one out. It will be close. It will be tough. It will be seen as a bitter loss, but the Lions won't be completely out of the playoff chase yet because I think between either Philly's going to be facing Washington and the Giants. I can't remember who their opponent is, but it's not an easy going for them either. So what I'm saying is more than likely between the Giants and the Commanders, they faced each other. this upcoming
Again.
Sunday. So again,
Again.
so I unless they tie again, I doubt one of those two teams is going to lose. So no matter what happens with the Jets on Sunday, that would help out. That won't hurt the Lions if they were having to lose. So knowing that, I'm going to say the Jets do find a way to win. Final score being 28-24, either 28-24 or 28-27. I do see it being that close, that type of game down the wire.
I'm going to pick a close game, except I'm going to pick the Lions to win. I'm going to go with the Lions 31 and the Jets 27. So, yeah, I'm going to go out on a limb here because the Lions they just keep winning.
Yes, and they keep scoring points. They've scored 25 or more so points in 5 straight games.
And their defense has been getting it done.
Yes,
they got it done against a 10-win team. The question is, can they do it against the Jets on the road 7-6? I get that they lost to the Bills. They got bested by the Bills defense. Although the Bills offense was a defensive slugfest, I guess.
Yeah, again, that's credit to the Jets. That's credit to the Jets defense. So I don't expect. Remember, they got a perennial MVP candidate in Josh Allen. They got Gabe Davis. They got Stephon Diggs, and they only got held under 30. To the point total that you saw. So I wouldn't be surprised if we see a similar output here to where yes, the Lions does have these weapons, but the Jets, newsflash, they have a damn good defense. So if we see a low scoring affair here, if it's even the score is lower than what our predicted scores suggest, it wouldn't surprise me.
Yeah, and don't forget the Bills won their game without Von Miller, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
So there's that. All right, enough about Lions. Talk about time. The Comerica Park lighting renovation project. We heard the news about it. We don't know how much money it's going to be spent, but I'll bet it's going to be like almost probably like at least 1 million. I'm not sure.
I'd say probably no more than 2 to 3, maybe 2 to 3 mil, that type of thing. It's a drop in the bucket compared to what Ilitch or Chris Ilitch would usually have to pay for.
Thankfully not that hefty, like 45 million. Yeah, because that could have been a lot worse. So,
yeah, but it's much needed too, because these have been the original floodlights that have been in there for over 20 years now. So yeah, it's about time to get more modern with how the lighting and presentation is at the ballpark. They've done other things, with some of the makeover with the interior of the stadium, that I've noticed over the past few years. So it makes sense that you add this aspect too.
Yeah, and they're only doing this on the top of the scoreboard, and that's about it. So it doesn't cost much.
Yeah, but still, the fact that the type of lights that they're bringing in should enhance the experience more, better viewing and all that. It's a necessary thing, and it's a good thing.
Right. So speaking of the Tigers, they signed right-handed pitcher Mark Lorenzen from the Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim to a 1-year, $8.5 million contract. And he has a chance to earn $1.5 million extra in bonus incentives. He recorded an 8.6 record with a 4.24 ERA and 18 starts for the Angels last season. 85 strikeouts on the mound, 44 walks in 97 2/3 innings, making the jump to the Angels rotation after pitching mostly in relief since his rookie season in 2015. His starting role was in 2022. All of that coming from a source from MLB.com's Mark Feinsand. So Lorenzen is another pitching addition to the Tigers, who also signed lefty Matthew Boyd to a 1-year deal worth $10 million. We already discussed they're going to probably use Matthew Boyd as a relief pitcher.
And Lorenzen probably for the rotation. Worth noting, though, that Boyd was in San Francisco. Which means that Scott Harris, who is the new president of operations for the Tigers, he saw what Matt Boyd was able to do up close and personal in San Francisco last year. So that had to been obviously an influence an influencing factor in this decision right here. So if Scott Harris thinks that this is a much different Matthew Boyd that's going to be bringing things to the table here for the Tigers as opposed to the one we saw during his last tenure here. All right, fair play to him. Then we'll see if he's right or not.
All right. So not necessarily elite stats, but pretty good. And what I saw in the video in this article with his fastball and slider, which is really nasty, kind of good for striking people out and inducing ground balls, ground outs, and fly outs and such. But
Also,
there's
one
that
good,
capability.
also a good someone for some of the younger pitchers to learn from, possibly. It's always
Yes.
that variable that you wouldn't mind having in your for your ball club.
Yep. So that's Tigers. Now the shocking reason that we've heard Erick All, the senior tight end, transferring from Michigan to Iowa in college football. And Ed, you have that shocking reason, which has to do with a personal matter. So go
I
ahead.
wouldn't necessarily have a again. It's not quite this. Again, I don't want to be seen as leading on our viewers or our listeners here of what was the reason why Erick Hall decided to enter the transfer portal. If it's not if anyone is unaware, he had posted a tweet. I believe it was last week, saying that everything or everyone is not as it seemed here in Michigan. Came up as very cryptic. I don't know. Some people were dealing with the fact of how they may have disagreed with how his injury was handled because eventually he had to end up having surgery that ended his season, or if there was a matter of NIL or whatever the case may be. That remains to be seen in terms of what was the reason why they decided to enter the portal. It is worth noting. It is noteworthy though that the team that decided ended up going to also has his former teammate, which is that's now his current teammate again in K McNamara. So that'll be one again developing news item to look at as to why they decided to go there. They'll probably give their reason in due time. But clearly, this is a choice that Erick All felt comfortable with doing. He feels that he's going to be making again the right move in terms of for his playing career moving forward would be at Iowa. And again, all fair play to him. I wish him nothing but the best. I think a lot of Michigan fans wish Erick All nothing but the best. Same thing with K McNamara. No matter how you may perceive or take heed with the comments that he made with giving his reasons surrounding his decision to leave Michigan and whatnot. But I will say though, I did not like how the fact that Erick All's father, Erick All Sr., responded to some portions of Michigan fans. Now, understand trying to defend your son from trolls or hateful fans or people that are being butthurt because, again, your son is making this decision that's best for him. I get that. I understand that. You're trying to be a parent. You got to do what's best to protect your child. However, there is always a step too far that you risk going. There's always a line you potentially risk crossing. And I think Erick All Sr. may have done that because when he was trying to respond to a fan, that I guess he felt was being whiny or being again in their feelings over what his son had decided to do with his own decision, he posted a GIF, a moving GIF image of a Michigan fan crying, a young Michigan fan crying uncontrollably, sobbing. Again, supposed to be used as a mocking gesture because, again, we see it in fandom all the time where, oh, look at your fan base. This is a representation of of you as a fans or you as a fan base. The problem is though, when he posts that image of what that GIF appeared to be, and again, it's noteworthy because a lot of people were commenting on it and noticing who it looked like and what it was. Yeah, that actually turned out to be Jim Harbaugh's son, his young son, Jack.
That's the
So
personal part.
yes, and the GIF in question, in case anybody's wondering, it's still the tweet is still up there from Erick All's father. I can find it; it will be on my Twitter page. I can link it up to you if you guys can see it, as long as it's still up there. But yeah, that's what that image appears to be. It was tweeted from Erick All's father, and as some people have pointed out, it's kind of a bad look for you if you're going to be defending your son to go after someone else's son, especially if they're the son of the head coach, whether it's inadvertent or not, accidental or not. it was still a bad look, and it makes you look like, okay, this dude's got some insecurities, or he's showing to himself to be very childish ways.
Childish,
I would
yes.
say, yeah, to say the least,
That's what I was thinking.
because as I'm sure he wouldn't like anybody doing something like this to his son, right? So why
Right.
does he have to do this with Jim Harbaugh's son? Is
Hmm.
is my question. And if I'm Harbaugh, listen, if Harbaugh, I doubt he's going to give any type of response to this, but I'm think if he were to respond with any type of certain amounts of animus or aggression, I don't think he'll get a lot of flack for that because he'll get a lot of sympathetic gestures from people saying, listen, as a parent or as a father, I understand. If someone did that and try to bring my kid into it, I would react the same way. So all I'm saying is for Erick All Sr., don't go LeVar Ball on this. Please don't, because it's going to put unnecessary hate, unnecessary negative attention, and it's going to put a target on your son's back. I promise you. And I guess in a way, it's very fortunate that these two teams are not playing in the regular season next season. But it's not a guarantee. Who's to say that they meet up in the Big Ten championship? That's always a possibility. So if that were to happen, I almost can guarantee you that this little nugget of information will be brought up. So all I gotta say is just be careful of what you put out there because at the end of the day, it may come back to bite you in the ass.
Yeah. The best suggestion for me to Eric All particularly is just to let it all go. It's not worth it.
Yeah, we're talking about the his father, not Eric All himself, not the player. We're talking about his father, right?
Right. It's only
Exactly,
personal. It has nothing to do with it has nothing to do with what's on the football field either.
exactly. I just thought it was just way out of line and just too personal of a shot to the. Again, if you want to say that, again, you think that most Michigan fans are being crybabies or this, that's your opinion. I'm not stopping you from doing that. All I'm saying is find a different image. You couldn't find, like, again, there's a lot of GIF images of Harbaugh giving a distressed face or other Michigan fans being sad. The fact that he picked out that one, again, whether he knew it or not, defeats the purpose, in my opinion. It's just like it's just not the right thing to do. It comes off as very bad, very tacky, and petty as hell. And I just disagree with that. I just disagree with that on all merits and fronts.
Yep. So that's that for that topic. The college basketball we want to throw out there quickly before we wrap things up. Eastern Michigan Eagles basketball guard Imani Bates was sentenced to 18 months probation after
Mhm.
pleading guilty to a misdemeanor gun charge. So, yeah,
Which, by the
well,
way, I could see this as something similar that we could see happening with Mozzie Smith whenever his day in court comes up again. Just saying.
yeah, yeah.
All you can
So,
hope. All you can hope is that with Amani, he's clearly getting a second chance. With this probation sentence, he has to learn better from this. He just has to. And I would say the same thing for Mozzie Smith too. Be smarter with your decision making, for God's sakes.
and that's what we've learned. That, that's a good segue right there to our short and sweet segment of what we've learned. So that is another episode of the Michigan Sports Truth Podcast in the can. He's Ed Smith. I'm Taylor Phillips. Before we go, follow the Michigan Sports Truth Podcast on Twitter and Instagram at Michigan_truth. Like its Facebook page, subscribe to its YouTube channel at the Michigan Sports Truth Podcast, and listen in audio form on Spreaker. Business shoutouts go to Cali Tickets. Get a hold of Mark Goldman at 877-225-8425 or visit CaliTickets.com. Creative Embroidery of Cadillac up here in my area, designing the Michigan Sports Truth Podcast on my t-shirt and long sleeve shirt over there although you don't see it. There we go. Everybody can see it now. So one more shout out. United Food Service Solutions of Grand Ledge, Michigan, where Jim Lyons works, a Detroit Sports Rag member. So the Michigan Sports Truth Podcast is a production of Phillips Media, TTF. Ta-ta for now. Hit him with a hind, power of the people. Case closed.